Good morning, everybody. It's Merritt with Master of One Coaching, and I had a little bit of a technical snafu this morning, so sorry I'm a little bit late to see you all. But this morning, I'm so glad to come to you live and talk about what Dr. Wayne Dyer referred to as the shift. And so I am going to, last time I was live, I had some kind of discombobulation with the comments. So I'm just going to stay on my profile here on my phone just to make sure I can see comments that come through. But I wanted to check in with you and talk a little bit about what this shift means. So Dr. Wayne Dyer, for those of you who aren't familiar, was a wonderful, very knowledgeable, and very popular sort of self-help, self-development guru in the 70s to up until really the 2000 teens. And he was very vocal about his activity and membership in the recovery community, and he became a very grounded and holistic spiritual thinker and author and speaker up until his 70s when he died. In his 70s when he passed away. I actually had this sad moment where I was about to buy tickets to go see him speak, and they were like, tickets are on sale, and then he ended up passing away before I got to go see. So, but at any rate, had a lot of influence on my life growing up. Probably if your parents were into PBS at all in the 70s, 80s, and 90s while you were growing up, I'm sure you've come across his work. And recently, I was excited to revisit one of his last projects before he passed. And it's a film called The Shift. And I would not tout it as a particularly artistic achievement. It's not. It's well done, but it's not, the focus is not that so much. The focus is really about the spiritual journey that we take in our human life, in our life on earth. And he talks about the morning and the afternoon of life. And so the morning he describes as, and this is not his concept that's solely attributed to him, but he's, sort of interpreting it through various other filters and information that he's received over the years and different spiritual teachings and things. So the morning he refers to is this idea of when we are young, and it is not necessarily attached to age, but it tends to trend this way, right? When we are young, we are ambitious. We want to make our mark in the world. We have a lot of energy. We are there to be creative and exciting and find out who we are. And we also want to achieve. Most of us are either trained to or just have a natural desire to achieve in some way. So whether that's, finding our way professionally, maybe it's starting a business, maybe it's climbing a ladder, maybe it's just making a name for ourselves in the world in some way, right? Maybe it's starting a family and that's an achievement for us, or writing that book, or whatever it is, right? Whatever the goal is that we set for ourselves. And we have a lot of fire and energy about that. And that's characterizes this idea of the morning. And then we have the afternoon of life. And again, not necessarily tracking on age, but there is a shift that we undergo, that if we're privileged enough to undergo that shift, where we start to transition from accomplishment and achievement to meaning and fulfillment, and getting in touch with that purpose. That what do we really want out of our life as a whole experience? What do we want to experience, not just achieve? And if we can discern or discriminate between those two ideas, achieving is really like accomplishment, right? It's like I win this award, or I get this job, or I accomplish this set of things that I had set out for myself. And when we're talking about experience, this is really more of a holistic understanding of life. It is based in feeling, it is based in connection and relationship. And it's not so much about taking that trip to Paris that I always wanted to take. It's about the meaning behind that Paris trip, right? I use Paris as an example because that was one that was big for me growing up. And my son also, one of my sons talks about that. So he wants to go see the Eiffel Tower. But it's not just about the seeing of it. It is the experiencing of the awe. It is the wonder that it ignites in us. It is the connection to the greater world around us and the amazing inspiration and creativity it takes to put together something like the Eiffel Tower, or right. I mean, that's why we go see the pyramids, and we want to go see these amazing natural and man-made wonders of the world, because it gives us that experience of connection and wonder and awe and magic, right? Dare we call it magic? So that's the shift or the difference between the morning and the afternoon of life, as Dr. Wayne Dyer presented it. And what happens to incite the shift is what's called a quantum moment. And the quantum moment is something that we cannot force. We have to allow it. We have to be open to something like this. And it may not even be something that we certainly can't really necessarily plan for. We can maybe set the stage to invite circumstances, to invite influence, if we're meditating or if we are connecting to spirit, connecting to source, your higher self, however you want to put that together. Or maybe it's your heart inspiration if you don't count yourself as a particularly spiritual being. Of course, we all are, by the way, but but not everybody wants to contextualize that, and that's okay. And I hope you can hear me. I can see I'm a little bit choppy. At any rate, so that quantum moment, and I would love to hear about your quantum moments. I've had a few in my life, and I hope to have more. It really is one of those moments where time becomes, we're aware that time is an illusion. We're aware that things are happening around us that we are connected to. We are fully inspired, fully embodying our the present moment. Maybe this is connected to flow state for you. I have a friend and colleague who talks a lot about flow triggers and like being able to drop in flow triggers into your life so that you can connect to the flow state without having to just have it happen upon you. But I'll explain one moment that I had. I mean, certainly a lot of you know my story about how I was married to my first husband, Peter, and how he passed away. And I would say that probably that moment where I read his email that came through after he passed, to advising me and to choose well, choose wisely, and choose love. I think that would qualify as a quantum moment because it definitely felt like there is magic happening here. I understand that there's a message coming through from Peter or from source, from spirit that is profound and directive. So that I would definitely qualify as a quantum moment, and it certainly changed the rest of my life dramatically, right? Not just because of the loss of my husband, but because of the directive. So that is definitely one example. I would say another example I have is related to the process that was started from that quantum moment. I would say maybe a year later, I was searching for, maybe not quite a year later, I was searching for the house that I was going to buy for my children and myself, that I knew I was going to go into this project mode and rebuild a home. That was something that I always wanted to do. And so I followed my heart, follow the messages, right? Follow my inspiration to Beacon, New York, which is not too far from where I live now. And I could go into all kinds of reasons why I chose Beacon. And they were definitely, I felt, spiritually directed and intuitively directed. Wouldn't be a Friday Live with Merritt without kids in the background. So I live in a busy house. So at any rate, I remember this moment where I was actually connected to my very good friend, Liz Hayes, who is also an energy worker, light worker, and has this amazing following on Instagram. You can go check her out at Love Liz Hayes. At any rate, she helped me kind of stay in tune with this intuition and these quantum moments that I was connecting with. And there was a moment where I was standing on a corner in Beacon, and I was standing in front of a house that I absolutely fell in love with, and I did not end up buying for various reasons. Well, the primary one is because somebody got it before I did, but I fell in love with the idea of this house, the idea of the project, the idea of being in this town in Beacon, New York, the energy that was there. And I had this moment where I just felt like everything was standing still around me, and it got quiet, and I became incredibly aware of how I was evolving in that moment, how the life that I had led up to that moment was preparing me for this moment of evolution, this moment of awareness, this increasing connection to my intuition, to my gut, to understanding my purpose. And I will never forget that moment, because there was nothing really special about it. There was nothing that really happened. There was nothing dramatic, no real symbol or sign or anything. It was just a feeling where I looked around and I could feel the energy around me. And I texted Liz and I said, oh my gosh. I think I may have said OMG or oh my goodness. That's all I said. And she texted back, you're expanding. It was such a cool moment. It was like this just really connected spiritual experience. And again, nothing special or spectacular about it, but it just was profound. And so when we're thinking about quantum moments, that's how I remember that shift for me. It was like, I have worked all this way, right? I did all the things that I said I was going to do. I got my bachelor's degree in New York. I pursued this sort of Broadway dream and then realized that wasn't the dream I wanted. I had followed my heart to come and do more justice-centered work. I had been married to a wonderful man. I had lots of ups and downs in the marriage, and and I'm grateful for all of it. Had an amazing family of in-laws, my amazing mom and dad, my sisters and brother, and all of these things that like you would write up as like a great life, right? A lot of privilege, certainly, and got to travel and all these things. But I had beautiful children. That I had 3 children, and I did all the things, and yet I realized in that moment that I was just beginning. And so that was really one of my profound quantum moments. So I would love to hear about your shift, your quantum moments. Who out there has felt this? Who out there has experienced something like this? I would love to hear about it in the comments. And I am going to just check in real quick with my phone and see if anybody's out there on there checking it out, because I am having a little bit of trouble seeing it on the StreamYard program. But if I don't see anybody out there with comments, what I would love to do is direct your attention to a couple of things. One is, if you want to see that movie, and again, not a great artistic achievement. It's beautiful. I mean, and actually, I will say that I'm personally biased because it was shot at Asilomar, which is an amazing retreat center, kind of resort, sort of, but it's at Asilomar State Park, which is a beautiful beach in California, about 20 minutes from where this photo was taken. This is Pfeiffer State Beach in Big Sur, but I grew up in that area in the Monterey Peninsula. And so actually, when my husband and I watched this movie the other night, we decided to change our plans from staying at a sort of more corporate kind of hotel when we go out there in the fall to Asilomar at the retreat center. So we're really excited about that. And it's an amazing place. It's a magical place. So I'm totally biased about the location, and I'm also have a deep connection to Wayne Dyer for a lot of reasons. So take that with a grain of salt, right? Whatever you will. But if you decide to go down that path, I'd be interested to hear your reactions to the film too. And you can find it on YouTube. In fact, I'll just put it right here. Well, I'll find the link and I'll go back to it and post it for you. Just look up Wayne Dyer, D-Y-E-R, The Shift. And I would love to hear your responses and reactions to that. And if I don't see any comments today, that's totally cool. No worries. I was going to also open up the floor to see if anybody else wanted to come on and maybe do a little hot seat coaching. But if that is not in the cards today, that is okay. Let me just see real quick. I'm just going to double check. And I think the last thing I wanted to talk about is using this time. We are in this kind of interesting time now, this shifting time from the COVID shutdown into we're opening up again, right? New York City is opening up again without masks if you're vaccinated. The state will probably follow suit with a couple of different disclaimers on that, right? 6 feet apart in certain places, and businesses, I think, can create their own rules depending on what they feel is safe and right for them. So I know that's different here in the Northeast than it is in the South and it is in the West Coast, that it might be in the Midwest. So there's lots of different kind of feelings and questions and concerns and anxieties about this and about the vaccine. Is it safe? Is it not? For what it's worth, my family and I are all vaccinated. My 12-year-olds already had their first shot. They're going to go for the second in 2 weeks. So that's something we committed to as a family. And so that shift for us as a nation, as a world, is going to really call into question this idea of connectivity, right? We've been connected online for the last year, 14 months, almost exclusively to each other. At least that's been true in the Northeast, and lots of other areas too. I know that different people have different experiences there. But in the business community, certainly it has called into question so many different practices, working in person versus remote, working at home versus in a co-working space. What are we going to do with those spaces that maybe we don't need anymore? How are we going to rotate those spaces for other use? Do we need to go to an office anymore at all? Can we, I put that primary, one of my primary focuses of starting my own business was that I could go anywhere in the world and do it. And I love that. And also that I could connect with anybody in the world. And I love that. That's becoming more of a common practice now than it was before, right? Maybe less air travel, more Zoom calls because it's much more accepted, or Zoom or other platforms. So that's going to be something that is also going to call into question our meaning and purpose, right? This is a really poignant moment in human history because we have never had anything like this with the amount of technology that we've had and the amount of connectivity that we have now, right? And the resources and the knowledge base that we have. So how is that going to change how we identify as leaders? How are you leading your business differently than you were 2 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, right? And not just in terms of the practical people coming into the office or not, but what about how you're prioritizing the holistic well-being of your organization, of the people in it? I did a great workshop a couple weeks ago with a wonderful company called Impact PR, and they called me in to do a lunch and learn, just to talk about connectivity, because they're all in disparate parts of the Northeast. They wanted to just spend an hour and a half together connecting as human beings. And that proved to be really valuable for them in their business. So how are you approaching that differently in your leadership roles? I have a lot of clients who are thinking very deeply about this. What does it mean to them as we experience this sort of collective quantum moment of questioning our work, our value to each other, our value to ourselves, our value to our families? Yeah. So I'd love to hear more about that as we shift into this new open world again. It's going to be, we're going to have some bumps, and that's okay. It's to be expected. We're going to embrace that. I have a friend who loves I'm going to call it a practice of rucking, where if you don't know what that is, it's long walks and hikes with a heavy pack on your back. It's derived from a military practice. And I mean, when I say long, I mean like 15, 17, 22, 30 miles long. And one of their mottos is embrace the suck, right? Because it's gonna happen. So how do we use those sucky moments, those terrible moments, to help us grow and change and thrive? So what are your quantum moments? How are you approaching this shift as we open up again in the world as a leader, as a soul, as someone who is connected to purpose and wants to help other people connect to their purpose in the world? Those are my questions for you today to think about in the week. I hope you're having an amazing day. It's a beautiful day here in the Hudson Valley. Perfect spring day. We've had an incredible spring here. It's been my absolute favorite. I hope you're having a great day where you are too. I hope you have a really blessed weekend. And please, if you don't have comments live, come back and comment on the replay, and I can definitely come and check in with you. If you are interested in finding more about what I do as a coach, either in a one-on-one or a group program opportunity, you can come visit me at masterofonecoaching.com and grab your free 7-day leadership journal to kickstart your leadership journey there, or to restart if you're having a hard time staying grounded. Go ahead and download the free journal. Join us on our newsletter, and you can follow me here on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Last thing I will say is I have some really exciting branding coming out. It's exciting for me as I up-level my game and step into my most evolved, the more evolved self, and hopefully that's never-ending process. But I did an incredible photo shoot with my very favorite photographer, Jeff Tisman, on Monday. He just did a little teaser today on Instagram, so you can go check that out at Tisman Photo. Oh, hi, Adrian. Oh, good. I can see your comments. Hooray. Thank you, Adrian. Thanks for coming today. So go check him at Tisman Photo on Instagram. Amazing. He did a little teaser, and I did put up a cover photo on Facebook today too, so you can see a little bit about that. But I am working with an amazing branding studio out of Southern California called Iconic Brand Studio. And with their help and Jeff's help, I'm going to be turning into the next Cinderella that's going to be appearing in just a week or two. So check that out. All right, everybody. Love to all. Please ask questions, leave your comments. I would love to hear about your quantum moments, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.